This week's show is brought to you by Pretty Easy Podcasts, helping podcasters get their shows off the ground, up and running, and sounding great. Professional podcast production at extremely affordable rates. Do yourself a favor if you're thinking about doing a podcast, but you don't really have a whole lot of time to manage the editing, the posting of the show, and making it sound as good as possible. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com because they'll help you do it at a great rate, and it doesn't matter what your show's about. It could be a sports show, food show, business. It could be a show about extremely rare birds. Doesn't matter. Go to prettyeasypodcast.com and they'll help you get your show off the ground, up and running, and sounding great today. Whatever your passion is, Pretty Easy Podcast is ready to help you enjoy it even more. Everybody has a podcast these days, right? Get in on the fun and go to prettyeasypodcast.com today, or just email them to get started at prettyeasypodcasts@gmail.com. Pretty Easy Podcast, making podcasting, pretty easy.
This is the future. This is not the past.
The new XFL will kick off in 2020.
If you smell what the XFL is cooking.
It's still football, but it's professional football reimagined.
This is our moment, our story to tell. This is history begun.
This is the XFL!
Welcome, football fans. This is the week of May 26, 2019. This is the road to 2020, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Vince.
The invites are rolling out. The players are hyped, and we're ready for a red-hot XFL summer. It's episode 70, and we are without our colleague Bryant, who's on his honeymoon. But I can say after last week's show, which we did right before his wedding, all together, live from his hotel room, he should show up at one of the summer showcases. Jake, the kid has got great feet to be an offensive tackle, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if he was any good at football, he would be no pun intended, a shoo-in for Dancing with the Stars. Season 33 or whatever they're on now.
I mean, to me, he was more of like a defensive tackle, like a dancing bear inside there. That's where I'd plug him in.
When the dance moves on our teammate Bryant as he made his entrance as the groom to his reception. All time dance moves. What if I told you though he actually played linebacker in high school, Jake? Would you be surprised?
No, I mean I wouldn't want to see him coming after me, Georgian.
He looked like Levon Kirkland when he played.
He looks like Levon Kirkland now. Compared, he was more of a Ryan Shazier type back then.
God.
Now, also, we are coming off of a fun week where we had the summer showcases announced and dates were given, and we have a few more details on those. We're going to talk about players starting to get invites as well. We'll dig deep into the summer showcases today. We have some interesting news about the XFL gearing up and what they're doing to get supplies for the upcoming season. The last head coach, general manager press conference took place this past week with June Jones in Houston. And we have a very special guest on this week, one of our great patrons who is so generous to the show and has given us a lot in terms of support and aid on the Patreon and insight, and also a great conversation that we're going to play for you this week. Keenan, Jake, we talked to him before we started putting the show together. A young up-and-coming football player.
Yeah, and this guy, he's got a vested, interest in this league. Not sure if he's going to be watching it from the stands or the television or maybe even the sideline. But yeah, that's going to come up later on in the program.
Yeah, it's cool because he's one of our patrons, and for our Patreon, we do have a special tier where if you give a certain amount to the show on the Patreon, you do get, time on the show to voice your opinion on whatever you want to talk about. And the cool thing about Keenan is he fit right into what our plans are over the coming weeks, because as the summer showcases are coming up, we want to talk to players. And the thing is, Keenan is not only a supporter of the show, but he also is a football player playing some college ball in Southern California, Vince, but not your typical college football player.
No, he's he's a little long in the tooth for the college game, I would think, but kind of like a modern day Chris Winkie.
Well, you're going to hear more about Keenan and his story and some stories from other players in the coming weeks, but he'll be the first up today. We're going to play you that interview, and we're going to get into a bunch of stuff. But let's go back to last week real quick, as we always do. The support and the interaction on social media is always fun to talk about, especially with the reactions to episodes. Last week, we discussed the XFL summer showcases, and the players were shifting, from the coaches are all hired. They're putting their staffs together. The competitive part of the league is now settling in, and team building is going on. And at Mindfinger hit us up. At XFL Show is us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Mindfinger on Twitter reaches out to us, guys, and says, so not sure if this is a sensitive subject, but is the XFL going to sign or draft players who were a part of the AAF? Why would he think that's a sensitive subject, Jake? Of course they're going to go after AAF players, and they've already invited some AAF players to the summer showcases.
Yeah, I mean, there's no shame in that at all. If you're good enough to be in this league, then they're going to go after you, unless, the only baggage they're really concerned about is legal baggage, I guess, and we still don't know to what degree. But yeah, just because this league folded after, I don't know, what was it, 7 weeks or something, clearly does not mean that they're off the table. So, yeah, they won. Again, it doesn't matter where you come from, who you played for before, but can you still go now? And are you going to be, part of this new league? Are you a good player? That's all it comes down to, really.
It's the quality of the play.
It is all about the quality of the play. And these guys will get a shot. And if they're good enough, they'll be on these ball clubs.
Mindfinger, we thank you for reaching out, but man, no need to think it's a sensitive subject. Maybe if there's like hardcore Memphis Express fans who like totally shut down from football at the end of the year, although they probably wanted their season to end by then. Maybe like an Orlando Apollos fan might be upset by that, Mindfinger. But no, you're going to see some AAF ballers in this league, and we're going to get into some episodes coming up. When we start talking about players that get invites, we will analyze it and talk about which players we definitely want to see that we know in terms of name value. We're going to see some AAF names we recognize in these summer showcases. We'll get into that. We're going to have our conversation with one of those players looking for an invite to the summer showcase, and we're going to talk about the summer showcase details that have come out as well. I know Vince is going to be super excited to hear about one aspect of these combines going on, but hey, Brainiacs, it's Long Island Iced Tea, and this week, I'm all in, baby.
What do you mean all in? It's double or nothing.
Is it? I'm all in, double or nothing. Isn't that a thing in Vegas?
It depends on who you ask.
What if I ask Marv Albert?
he might talk to you about Chris Jericho and Kenneth Omega.
Well, All Elite Wrestling has double or nothing going on Saturday Night, Brainiacs, and that means Vin Man and I and all the Brainbusters could be discussing the show and reacting to it, although Vin Man already has all of his reactions planned out, so I don't even know why he's going to watch the show.
Yeah, why would I watch the show?
Because it's professional wrestling. That's what we talk each and every week on Brainbuster Radio. Tweet it, read it, tout it, shout it, be all about it, Brainiacs, at the Brainbusters on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Instagram Junior. Vin Man, what are you looking forward to the most this weekend at AEW?
I'm most looking forward to whether all the internet nerd fans are actually paying for this.
Well, I can tell you, Brainiacs, I most definitely am going to be watching AEW and talking about it this week on Brainbuster Radio. Download and subscribe to the show on any podcast gimmick today. Before we do any of that, it's time to get into some news and tidbits for this week with this week's cover 2.
Going for 2. Go for 2 and the lead.
Give me 2. XFL. Oh man, this is what you got to do when you're a football league. When you're a pro football league, Jake, you got to gear up. You got to have helmets. You got to have pads. You got to have, practice equipment. Got to have tackling dummies, etc. So the XFL is apparently, I saw this on Pro Football Talk, is apparently taking some of the old gear that the AAF used, which I wouldn't say is too old, right? They barely used it for a handful of weeks.
Not many miles on it.
No, it's like buying a really fancy used car. And also, we know now because this article came out that the XFL is buying some used equipment. But when it rolls out, Jake, you're never going to be able to tell the difference.
No, you're not going to. I mean, if you can get a good deal on this stuff, I would make sure that, double check that any of those lingering remnants of the AAF, they're not going to try to unscrew some screws halfway or, or something like that. Put some rocks in the tackling dummy or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it's out there. So obviously, a league that doesn't exist anymore isn't going to be using it. So if it's safe to work, make a good purchase on it.
Yeah, you got why it shouldn't. They shouldn't. The XFL is
no stigma or shame in this either.
They're apparently having to fork out though $375,000 for this gear when it should just be given to the league. Otherwise, it's going to have to sit in like some warehouse in the middle of nowhere, Vince, with the Ark of the Covenant. It should. I don't understand why this just can't be donated to the league.
Probably some bad blood there is my guess.
Also bankruptcy issues. This is all going to pay creditors for the AAF. So the XFL basically is footing the bill for the AAF's bankruptcy with this news.
Yeah, and this stuff is not cheap. There's no doubt about that. One thing I will say that I found interesting is the purchasing of the helmets and the shoulder pads. We had talked about on this very program, and you could go back. Listening into the archives, I believe that this is the XFLshow.com, and you could listen to us talk about helmets and helmet technology that we had heard. The XFL wants a safer game, and they're going to have safe equipment, particularly helmets, with all we know about head injuries today. The AAF, I don't know if we want to use their helmets. I don't know how safe they were. So if the XFL talking about how they want to go a different direction with helmet technology, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure if I could trust this whole report.
Well, apparently included in this purchase for gear, helmets, shoulder pads, tackling dummies, and other equipment, which will include hundreds of rolls of athletic tape. I don't know why
I believe that.
I don't know why PFT specifically cited hundreds of rolls of athletic tape, but the good thing is though that this purchase will go to all those people that the AAF stiffed, or at least some of them. Drop in the bucket though, from what we've heard that they owe. The only question I really had about this, Jake, was is there any kind of stigma or bad juju associated with this AAF equipment? Is it maybe cursed? Because some people are very superstitious and might not want to be associated with that league at all.
There's a lot of things I believe in real life, like Bigfoot, Nessie, and the Chupacabra. Chupacabra, to name a few, but I do not believe in voodoo or bad mojo coming from old athletic equipment.
What about hundreds of rolls of evil athletic tape?
I wouldn't say it's evil. I really wouldn't.
It sounds like a really
not
good
the tape. I would say
it sounds like a really good Disney Channel football teen movie.
It sounds like the plot to an episode of Even Stevens. Is what it sounds like.
The curse of the football equipment. The XFL, Alpha Entertainment, more specifically, the parent company, the Umbrella Corporation, will be purchasing this gear, and it's really interesting to think about. But no one will notice by the time we're playing, unless some jerk, you're watching a game at the bar and says, "Look at all that AAF gear they're wearing out there."
All that old tape.
That's why I always buy new.
Yeah, there's certain things you want to buy new, but I don't think athletic tape is necessarily one of them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not used athletic tape.
All right, guys. After the game, put that athletic tape back on the roll. We're pinching pennies tonight.
Well, I have to say two things. Well, they didn't say it, but I assume athletic undergarments aren't included here, like jock straps or anything. And they're buying this stuff. It's not being leased, Vince. This is a straight buy.
Yeah, leasing the equipment. Well, I mean, this worked for the little Giants, and they won their game with a lot at least practicing with a lot of used equipment. So there's that.
There is that. That's a fun story that came out that for some reason I think who would care about that? But I just think people love writing about the AAF now.
Do you think some stooge reported that? Is that?
Is it possible Bryant reported this?
I think it is people like Bryant who just love to bring up the AAF now that it's gone. They just want to talk about. I don't know. I don't know. I would. It's fun, though. It is fun to talk about. All right. The second part of our cover two this week, we got our last head coach general manager, June Jones. So we talked a little bit about offensive whiz, been around for a long time, been everywhere. And he's now in Houston as the head man there. And with a USFL background, I mean, you've got the history of the Gamblers there, I believe, were the USFL team, Vince. You've got a lot of people excited in H-Town for the XFL. And you could tell because when June Jones got to town, not only were they, just there for the press conference, but everybody was wearing Hawaiian shirts to welcome the coach who lives in Hawaii in his non-football coaching time. He's a big Hawaiian guy, coached at Hawaii. And I mean, even Oliver Luck was wearing the awesome XFL Hawaiian shirt, which we absolutely need to get. Or we need to get Bryant on making us our own show Hawaiian shirts for sure.
Yeah, that's been his gimmick for quite some time. In fact, even when he was coaching at SMU, he was wearing Hawaiian shirts. So I love the fact, that he's bringing his brand to the XFL, and I like his brand.
That's the cool thing. How about it though? Coaches in the XFL, most of them have brands. I dig that. June Jones, Bob Stoops, Jim Zorn, distinct brands. Winston Moss, even a coach that a lot of people never even heard of, but right away he lets you know his brand as well. All these guys have a style.
Do you think that it's going to be mandatory for the Houston coaching staff to dress like they're at the Pro Bowl for every game?
Yeah, it's basically what it was like. Everybody was dressed like it was the Pro Bowl. It was awesome. I'm loving the style, but of course the expertise, it just fits like a glove in the XFL. The offensive innovator, June Jones, and he was kind of talking about just how he's come up with a lot of the coaches in this league, and they've all been talked about in the same ways. They've all been guys who think, offensively and have been involved in some of the innovations in the game over the last 20 or 30 years even. He brought up, coaching with Stoops or against Stoops and Tressman and Gilbride. He has experience with the guys he's going to be coaching against. So I think the familiarity between all these coaches as well is something to get excited about. There's going to be real competition and gamesmanship among all 8 of these guys.
Yeah, certainly, at the beginning, these guys, it's an elite group to be a head coach of a professional football team. These guys, they're familiar with each other and they're competitive. In this league, you're not doing this, just, because you're happy to have a job. You're doing this because you want to win and you love the game. And that's what all these guys have in common. I can't wait to see them duke it out in this chess match we call football.
And the real headline, I guess, that most people were reporting on after the press conference was a quote June Jones gave after the press conference to a reporter asking about a quarterback that June Jones recently coached for about 6 weeks up in Canada named John Manziel. And June Jones seems to think that Johnny Football is going to be up for grabs and in the player pool. Here's the quote. He said, quote, "I had Johnny in Hamilton. And John Football was in Hamilton for like a hot second, remember, before he got traded to Montreal. He said, I enjoyed the 5 or 6 weeks with him. He played very good for me. Actually, Johnny is an interesting guy. He's competitive. He's proven that he has won. He's just been through a lot these last 3 or 4 years. That's kind of a league decision there, but definitely I assume that he'll be in the draft pool. I assume that. Now, we know what we say, Jake, whenever you assume something, but in this case, do you think that's a good assumption?
It's fine to assume that, with his past legal troubles. I guess that would be the only thing really keeping him out of contention for this. He's, somehow still a name. You get him in the state of Texas, and there's automatically going to be a good bit of interest on him. But he did play for Memphis most recently in one game? I think maybe 2 games. So, yeah, he's still a name out there. And, I just don't know if there's anything left. If people are thinking about, Texas A&M days, didn't do anything in the NFL, apparently in the CFL, which I do not watch, but it didn't sound like he did much there. And then at Memphis, that really wasn't his fault.
It's a guy we're going to be bringing up a lot because he's got the name value, but I'm starting to think more and more that, like you said, Jake, there's not much left, and he's kind of been exposed as a guy who's really not going to be the caliber of player, that, especially in this league, that you're going to want at quarterback. I think there's too many mistakes happening in that style of game, a little too reckless and not as polished as I think June Jones or some of these coaches are going to want their quarterbacks to be. How about you, Vince?
Yeah, this guy's star burned out, quite some time ago. And I think Jake's right here. In College Station, Texas, he's still, a legend. He had a whirly-bird of a game against Alabama. But, outside of that, and that one season, this guy doesn't really mean much. His name value isn't getting me excited. I don't think it's going to get, the general public excited either.
Yeah, and you could tell the stars faded because I normally would have been playing the Johnny Football theme song there, Vince, but I'm over it. I'm not even going to play it anymore. We've played it. I think every time we've talked about him on this show, we've played that little ditty. But John Football brought up there for June Jones. That was kind of the headline everyone was talking about, but also what I'm interested in this past week when it comes to the coaches is the staffs are piling up now. Everybody's putting their teams together. June Jones hasn't been able to get to that yet, but you see Jerry Glanville officially the Tampa Bay defensive coordinator, Vince.
Oh, my God.
Jerry freaking Glanville.
Hell yeah. All right, this guy here, what a talker. Great talker. Tons of NFL experience. I'm surprised to hear that, but I'm excited for this guy. He's got passion for the game. I can't wait to see him in action.
I'm guessing he's definitely in his 70s, but that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. I'm excited for Mark Trestman's team because it's him and all his CFL buddies. Tampa Bay is going to play football like there's only 3 downs. It's going to be really interesting to see that team. No, that's cool. Jerry Glanville catching some eyeballs there. He's joining that staff. They've got their OC as well, who's Jamie Elizondo from the CFL as well. So they've got both coordinators in Tampa, in Seattle. You've got a defensive coordinator, Clinton Lopez, but no OC. St. Louis, also Jonathan Hayes made some hires. He has his defensive coordinator, who will be his brother, Jay Hayes. Jake, what do you think of hiring your siblings to coach alongside you when you're putting your staff together? It's his choice. He is the GM as well.
This is his brother, you said?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, everybody says don't hire family, but if you grew up with your brother playing football, roughhousing in the backyard, you may be on the same page. But it's his team. You picked him to be the head coach and the general manager, so you gave him the power. So you got to live with it.
Well, I don't know. Would Kevin O'Shea have ever hired Danny O'Shea as an offensive coordinator?
I mean,
Vince?
we don't know. Maybe they
did.
Maybe they
Well, I
have
guess
really
it was
old
the reverse
notebooks.
of that, but
Yeah,
Maybe they just have really old notebooks full of plays, from years ago that they're ready to bust out that trap keeper.
It always comes back down to Little Giants for some reason. And then we talked about Hal Mummy, the innovator of offense and the air raid, joining the Dallas staff, which is star-studded. Bob Stoops, Hal Mummy, Daryl Johnston, director of player personnel, a position that we talked about a lot last week, and those roles are being filled on other teams as well. But there are still some XFL teams with no staff. Houston, of course, they just hired their coach, but LA, Winston Moss has been there for a couple weeks, hasn't hired anyone just yet. In New York, you've got almost all the roles filled except the OC, but I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Gilbride is his own offensive coordinator, Vince.
yeah, that's a good point. I didn't consider that, but you got to think about that for a lot of these guys. June Jones, he's calling his own plays. We know that. I could see that happening in several situations here.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if June Jones hires an OC just to be the head coach in waiting. I think, living in Hawaii, and also with his track record, how long is June Jones going to give you? I'd say probably 3 years max. And he'll ride off into the sunset or the beaches of Hawaii. But these XFL staffs are filling up, and we'll be talking about them more and more as more roles get filled. Real quick, back out to DC as well. They're yet to get their offensive coordinator. Nope, they do. They have Tanner Angstrand. They have their defensive coordinator as well, Jeffrey Fitzgerald. So they're just filling out other roles, assistant spots. Their football ops guy or girl and director of player personnel. So these roles will be filled, and we will be discussing them as they get filled. But that's everything on the coaching and staff front for this week. Before we move on to our special interview with our patron, who's been so generous and gave to us now for I think over a month, and has earned the right to be a part of the show, because you get all awesome perks when you join our Patreon. Not only do you get when you really give, like our friend Keenan, we're going to talk to, you get to be a part of the show, but other stuff like our weekly episodes, especially the show that I think a lot of people are enjoying. And a lot of the people give to the Patreon just for this show, that this is not the XFL show, which I'm happy to say I pretty much hosted my damn self this week, Jake, until you wrote in and tried to steal my spotlight.
Well, I was rolling down the road, and I figured I better call in and try to rein you in a little bit.
We have fun though, and we talk about on that show
it was fun.
all the football outside of the XFL in the world, and we relate it to the XFL as well. So if you wanted to hear, for instance, me ranting about the CFL, but in a way that relates to the XFL, because this week I really broke down their new collective bargaining agreement and what their strategy seems to be, because they see the XFL coming. You'll want to listen to that show, and that's exclusively on our Patreon. So Patreon's where it's at to get the full experience of this is the XFL show. And when you give, and you are so generous, like someone like Keenan here that we're going to talk to, you get to be on the show, and we're going to talk to him right now. This is one of the coolest stories. He is a college football player. You're going to hear about his story, his background, and his plans, and we're also going to get his thoughts on the XFL. And also, before we get to it, let me remind any players out there like Keenan that if you are a college football player looking to play in the XFL maybe, there's an open application on XFL.com for you to sign up for summer showcases. The summer showcases coming up in the 8 cities are invite only for pros. But if you're a college player, you can sign up and wait for an invite. So fill out your application, get your name out there, and maybe the XFL will send you one of those invites. They've already started going out. So be sure to do that if you're a player and listening to the show at XFL.com. One of those players who is going to do that is our guest right now. His name is Keenan, or I think he's Keenan Football on Twitter, and he's one of our patrons, and we're going to send you to our conversation with him about the XFL right now. Let's get right into it, Keenan. You are one of our most generous and gracious and dedicated patrons on the Patreon. We hope you're enjoying the show. Obviously, you did enough to join the Patreon. Let's start with the XFL itself. Tell us why you're so hyped for the XFL, if you are at all, or do you just hate listening to us every week?
No, not at all. You know what? I'm old enough to remember the first run. So I'm pretty interesting to see how things are going to pan out. The second time around, and it's just good to have another alternative to the NFL.
Yeah,
now, Keenan, I wanted to ask you: Are you in one of the markets where this iteration of the XFL is going to have a franchise, or do you support one of the teams in those markets already?
I am, as a matter of fact. I'm in Los Angeles. I don't, I'm in the same boat as everyone else. I don't quite yet know what the team's going to be called, but as long as it's an LA team, I'll rally behind them.
All right, so good. You're XFL LA all the way, like Bryant and I.
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Are you hoping they're called the LA Extreme, like I am?
Yeah. That would be nostalgic. It'd be nice to, we go back to how things once were, but I have a feeling they're gonna switch it up on us.
Yeah, I unfortunately do as well. I'm hoping it's something good. Jake's real big on the team names and jerseys. He thinks that's the most important thing. What do you think's most important? We've had some big coaching hires. We're waiting on players, or is it jerseys and team names? What do you think's the biggest thing the XFL needs to get right?
Well, obviously, the front office and the roster is a big deal. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. What's the word I'm looking for? The the aesthetics.
Yeah, the branding of the
secondary
teams and whatnot. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, as long as we got a good front office, as long as we got some experience and some players that can actually play, I think that's a great start.
Now, Keenan, question for you. You being in LA, I'm assuming you're a big football fan now. Is there any particular teams or particular levels of football that you follow? Do you follow it all? And what are you really looking forward to that's going to be so different in the XFL from the football you currently watch?
That's a good question. It's different. To be honest, I'm just happy to have football in the spring. That's I don't really care too much about the rule changes. As long football's football. To me.
Yeah, so, just bring it on, more of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Which is why people need to be watching the CFL. I've been telling them it's football, Keenan, and nobody's joining me. You need to get on the CFL bandwagon if, at least for the next year till the XFL arrives. But I see on your Twitter, we've been, going back and forth with you, and you play some wide receiver, huh?
Yeah, I play a little football. Yeah.
Are you currently playing college ball?
Yes, I am.
Nice.
As a matter of fact.
Awesome. Where at?
Yeah. I'm down in Orange County at Santa Ana College.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Did you apply to get to one of these summer showcases in the XFL at all? Because they're allowing college players to showcase their skills.
Yes, that'd be nice. I did put my name in that hat, so I'm just patiently waiting, just like everybody else. I saw that a few NFL free agents, have received their invites, but I haven't heard anything from the college guys yet. So I'm guessing they're going to start with the free agent stuff and then work their way down to the college guys.
Yeah, man. Well, we wish you all the luck for sure. That's the invites are going out to the veterans and guys with the pro experience, and then college players are being encouraged to apply at XFL.com. And that's awesome. You did that. That's really cool, man. We'll be rooting for you for sure, especially as our first player guest on the show officially, I guess, Jake, right?
Yeah, and Keenan, I wanted to ask you something else. I mean, you said you're part of a squad. Do the other, your teammates, did they know about the XFL? Do you see branding, in your market? Is this something that people they're not going to know about until, February 2020? Or do you sense that because a team is coming back to LA that people are aware of this and looking forward to it?
Yeah, I think people are looking. I think they're aware of it. I think that the AAF, kind of, cracked that door a little bit. So I think the next best thing, I guess, in these circumstances is XFL. So yeah, people, I don't think they're, as excited for the XFL as they are the NFL, but I think it's just like with the AAF. I think once it starts, popping up on television and everything, I think people are going to, jump on board.
Yeah, so maybe the AAF cracked that door, but hopefully the XFL is going to break it down.
I think so. I think I just read somewhere that XFL picked up like some of the old AAF gear, like some helmets and some pads and stuff. So I think that they're serious. I've been hearing like a little chatter here and there about it's gonna fold, just like the AAF, but I don't think so. That's just my opinion.
What about your teammates? I mean, you're around football people a lot. If you're part of a team, what are they thinking about the league?
Well, all of my teammates are younger, so they're not really too keen on it at this point. I think the only reason I am is because I actually remember the first iteration. So, but yeah, like I said, I think once it starts popping up on TV and stuff and on, Sports Center, I think everyone will jump on the bandwagon.
That's going to be crucial, yeah, especially to get the young bucks, aware of the brand for sure. Sports Center is going to go a long way. What'd you think of the TV deal when it was announced?
I was blown away. I was shocked.
I think we all were, huh? It's a pretty tremendous deal they got. Fox and ABC, ESPN.
Pretty huge. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's going to be big, and we were anticipating that thing for a long while. So I want to ask you. You've been listening to the show. How long have you been listening to the show, man? Have you been with us since day one? Did you catch us pretty recently?
I jumped on board when you guys started doing. This is not the XFL. When you guys started doing those, so I want to say maybe for about a month. It's been about a month.
Cool. Yeah. We're about a month or two into that show. That thing's going off the rails sometimes. It's so fun, though. I don't know if you heard this past week. That's where I got real nerdy. CFL, they left me all by my lonesome. I should have hit you up, Keenan. I could have used the backup. Vince was caught sleeping.
Yeah. It was a long week.
I bet.
I'll leave it at that.
Well, Keenan. So you're a loyal listener, man. You've earned this forum. You've given to us generously. So we'll give you the space here. Is there anything maybe we don't say, we haven't caught yet, or something you got to get off your chest that you want to say about the league? An idea, a thought you have about the XFL?
Yeah. I think. Let's see. I think I don't know. I don't want to come off like too preachy or anything, but I think maybe you guys could maybe reach out to like one of the aspiring guys, or maybe like a couple of them. I'm kind of like what you're doing now, I guess. Just reach out to them and kind of like do like a one-on-one type thing. Ask them where they hoping to get out of the experience.
Well,
and whatnot.
Well, Keenan, I don't know if you caught our Twitter as of today, the day we're taping this thing, this Friday, but we put out a tweet soliciting that very thing, hitting up anybody who's been invited or seeking an invite to the summer showcases, and never ever have our DMs or notifications on Twitter blown up the way we are. We got a lot of players reaching out, wanted to tell their story and talk about these summer showcases, just like you did with us today. So we're looking to do just that, man. We're going to have some players on, and we might even have a players only week coming up very soon, very, very soon, maybe even next week.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
And there's a lot of guys out there, a lot of talented guys out there, just trying to get their foot in the door. That's the cool thing about it. And players like you, they're grinding and they're just looking for a shot. And this is going to be it this summer, man. So we appreciate you giving to the Patreon, and we'll be rooting hard for you. You keep us posted on everything going on with you.
Yeah, I sure will. I sure will, you guys. And I think that segment too is just gonna. I think what's gonna come along with this league isn't just your average college player that grinded his way to the pros, but I think as you guys start interviewing the different guys, I think what's going to be you're going to find the most interesting is each one of these guys has a unique story, and I think it's going to be. I think there's going to be. I think it's great when you can. When there's a story of triumph, and passion that comes along with, what these guys are trying to do, because obviously, they're not, in the league, but this is like there hasn't been a second chance, like this before. So I think because of that unique situation, I think you guys are going to be hearing a lot of unique and interesting stories.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we'll find some. I mean, there's going to be, if the league's successful and some of these players make it, the movies are made of this kind of stuff, man, because that's the stuff, that's what people want to hear about.
Exactly.
It's the story, Vince. It's all about, the garbage man who went to tryouts one year at summer showcases and became an XFL star. That's what it's all about.
That's exactly. Or the guys like me and Vince Papale. Have you guys seen Invincible?
Yeah, man, hell yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think there might even be a few of us in there.
Well, I can't wait, man. We're gonna hear all these different stories. So your last, before we let you go, let's get into yours real quick before we let you go. So you're saying you're playing with a bunch of younger guys there at college football. May I ask how much older than these guys are you? How old are you?
I got him beat by a couple decades.
Hell yeah! What are you? Are you a 30-something-year-old college player?
Yeah, I'll be 43 in December.
That's what I'm talking about, man. I'm a 30-something college student myself as well. I'm not playing any ball. Okay. Although you might inspire me. I think, you know what, Vince Jake? I'm gonna go try out for Pitt. Do they still take
maybe think about that in a couple more years.
Are they taking walk-ons?
Oh yeah, still. Yeah.
I mean, I hear they're looking to replace the water boy.
They could always use a good fullback, and you might that might fit you.
Well, if I play fullback, I won't have a shot at the XFL because there ain't going to be no fullbacks in this league. I don't think.
We don't know that for sure.
We don't know that for sure. All right. Well,
I got one last question
go ahead.
for Keenan before we get out of here.
Sure.
So I believe that you can, I don't know if you can purchase season tickets yet, but you could at least get on a waiting list from what I understand. Do you or anybody that doesn't have to necessarily be your teammates, but anybody that already jumped on that LA bandwagon for season tickets yet?
Not yet. But what I'm hearing is, for whatever reason, for a lot of the fans, this is important, but a lot of people want to know, before they make that commitment, for whatever reason, they want to know what the team's going to be called and what the logo's going to look like. Now, I don't know what that has to do with
very fair.
Sales, but that's the feedback can get. Yeah, LA's weird, right?
Yeah, well, the thing, also, Vince, I mean, Keenan's also looking to make the LA team possibly first, and then he could worry about season tickets. He might even get some of his comps, right?
I hope so. That'd be nice.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll be rooting for you to get that invite, and if not, keep killing it and representing the 30-year-olds in college and
40s,
40s, and man, we'll be giving you all you want on Patreon. If you need anything specific from us on the Patreon, all that content's for you and patrons like you, because you guys make the show possible. So we thank you. Eternally grateful for everything you're doing for the Patreon, and we look forward to talking to you some more in the future for sure.
The same, and thank you guys. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
Right on, man. And you know what? You want to plug anything before you get out of here? You got any websites, social media, whatever? It's your forum.
Yeah. My Twitter is football.keenan. And Instagram is football.keenan. No, I'm sorry. Twitter is Keenan1976. And Instagram is football.keenan. So, yeah, make sure you log on and check those out. And I update those frequently.
All right, man. We're giving you the follow, and we appreciate you following us, Keenan. Good luck, and we'll catch you down the road.
Hey, I'll see you guys. Thanks again.
And there you have it, our conversation with, what'd you call him, Vince? The modern-day Chris
Winkie.
Winkie, yes. He won the Heisman? He was a Heisman winner, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I think he won it, yeah. And the national championship that year.
Keenan. So he said he's a college ball player going on 43. I misheard him.
Receiver.
I misheard him and thought he said 33. 43 is a whole different ball game, and he's still playing out there with a bunch of young cats. God love him for giving to the Patreon, helping us out, and talking some XFL there with a college ball player who has filled out the application, as I think any football player should fill that application out at XFL.com. Why wouldn't you? Take a chance.
Drew Brees, taking a chance. Any player.
I mean, especially if you're in the vicinity where they're going to be having one of these showcases.
No, Drew Brees would be ineligible, though, Vince, because only college players are allowed to go fill out the application. Pros, you got to get the invite, and usually that goes through the agent. Yeah, so the Summer Showcase invites are coming out. We'll get into the Summer Showcase some more here in a second, but just again, thanks so much to Football Keenan for joining us there, giving to the Patreon, and helping us spread the word about the Patreon, because it's really been awesome doing all the bonus content. And now we actually did put out this tweet that is just, I mean, it's our Twitter. I have now a backlog of messages that Bryant and I are going to go through, because I know you two don't even know how to use Twitter, and we're going to have to go and reach out to all the players. I mean, who would have thunk? We put out the message, if you are looking to get invited or have been invited to the Summer Showcases, we want to hear from you. And Twitter's just going nuts, and everybody's reaching out. And I'll say it right here as well. If you're listening and you are a football player, college, you're a pro, whatever, and you're looking to get to the Summer Showcases, you have a story, or you have been invited, we want to hear from you, because we want to hear those stories, and we want to know the players as they get ready to join the XFL, because we're covering it all. We've been covering coaches and GMs and presidents for weeks and weeks and weeks. You forget this is a dang football show, Jake. We want to talk some players.
Yeah, we do. If you're out there, let us know. We want to see what it's like. We still don't know if it's open to the public, right? I mean, for viewing wise, at least.
It is going to be open to the media, I know for sure. And I know for sure we're going to be at some of these Summer Showcases covering it for you. So even if you can't make it, you can't go sit in the stands and watch the Summer Showcases, which won't be Underwear Olympics. Don't forget, Jake. They're going to be more than a combine. But if you can't make it, we'll be there covering it for you to let you know all about it. It's going to be a blast, these eight stops, these 8 combines. We're hoping to make at least 2, maybe 3, maybe more. Who knows? Anything could happen, but so cool to be talking to players. And look for next week. We're going to be talking to some players right here on the main show, on Patreon. You might even call it Players Only, Vince.
Yeah, I like that. Players Only.
Man, I wish I would have asked Keenan about the Oklahoma drill and what he thought about that getting banned from the NFL this week. I don't know. I definitely don't expect an Oklahoma drill in the XFL.
Well, I don't know about that. It's still football.
It is. If Jerry Glanville has anything to say about it.
Yeah. And Bob Stoops.
There will be an Okie drill. All right, let's get into the Summer Showcases in detail with a formal setting here as we discuss all the new things we've learned this past week about them in this week's Hot Read.
Blue 58! Blue 58! Go! Hey, Ric Flair! Ric Flair!
Pepper, Flip, Caliber. O-Town, Happy, Jolly, Drunk, Buster, Boomer, Tiger! I think he's got a hound too, Rodney, I think.
18, and they just Hey, Seattle! Lion! Mars 83!
The invites are going out, and people are getting excited because they're going to get a chance to put their skills to the test and get evaluated to be in the XFL. The summer showcases are upon us, and Oliver Luck has put out some more details. A cool video with him and Doug Whaley came out this week on XFL social media, guys. But also in speaking with the media, Oliver Luck said that about 100 players per showcase, which we knew, but he said he thinks about 90, maybe even 95 of them are going to be pros, guys with experience. And then the rest will be a small group of current college football players that we've been talking about, people who are going to be filling out those applications, fighting for a spot. Oliver Luck said a college kid could come to our showcase, get all the testing, and not in any way put his eligibility in jeopardy, which, once again, I reiterate, Vince, why wouldn't you fill that application out knowing that?
Yeah, unless you're going to get heat from your current coach.
Why would you? That'd be awful if a coach got upset at you about that.
I don't know, risking injury or something. I don't know. I mean, do you think Trevor Lawrence is filling out an application right now?
He should be. He should be, because the thing is, if you're a football player, you must exercise all options, weigh them all, test all the waters, just know all the things in front of you just in case. You never know in this business. Why wouldn't he? Travis Etienne, Jalen Hurts, go do it. Jalen, if you're listening, go fill out the application and go to one of the summer showcases.
Well, Jalen Hurts, I actually think should.
He should.
I'll leave that one.
Do you think Lincoln Riley is going to encourage him to do it, knowing that Bob Stoops is there in
Dallas? I don't know. I still don't quite understand that transfer.
What, like why it was allowed?
No, I just don't. I just am surprised Lincoln Riley's that interested in him.
Are you going to be? You're really going to be surprised when Jalen Hurts wins the Heisman? Because I won't.
I will be shocked.
I will not be.
I will stand on my head and who knows what.
Kyler Murray could come out of nowhere like that. I don't know. But we digress, Jake. Oliver Luck has put out some more info as well. He said the XFL is going to be signing these players after the last summer showcase, which is on July 13th. So we are less than 2 months away, I think, from getting our first signees to the XFL.
Yeah, like we said last week, it's probably not going to be tier 1 guys, but yeah, just a little over, let's just say 2 months. I mean, we don't know if they're going to be offering contracts on July 14th, but that's the end of the showcase, so it's going to be sometime after that at least. So yeah, you got 800 guy basically coming out here. You think you're going to be able to find somebody that you're willing to offer some money to.
If you got a guy running a 4.140 at any of these things, you sign him before July 14th. One of the I think the biggest thing that Oliver Luck said about the summer showcases that I took was that there will be no jumping ship from the XFL after the draft. Now, players before the draft are going to be able to maybe get the call from the NFL or get advice and think that they might be able to make the NFL, and that'll be cool for them to leave. But if someone signs with the XFL and gets drafted, there's no jumping ship. Here's the exact quote from Oliver Luck. If a guy signs with us and then 3 weeks later, prior to our draft, has an opportunity to go to an NFL team, we'll say, take the opportunity. After the draft, we'll expect those players to stay. If they think they have an opportunity in the NFL, they have to do that before the draft. Fair? Is that fair enough, Vince?
Well, I think it's a fair thing to ask, but I don't know. I'm interested to see how they're going to ensure that that's the case. Is there going to be a contract that they got to sign? It's certainly not a contract binding enough that some NFL money couldn't get the player out of. It just seems.
What if it's just a handshake deal?
It could be, but handshake deals have been broken.
There are not going to be handshake deals. These are going to be contracts signed, I'm sure, these contracts will be signed before the drafts, but they probably will have, wording in them that say once you are drafted to a team, you are expected to honor this draft.
I would hope so.
And I'm sure so. I'm positive that is. Why wouldn't that be the case? But if it isn't, that could be an issue. More concern for the XFL here also with guys who are going to fit the mold. Oliver Luck said they're not worried about signing guys with local notoriety, a la the AAF. This is going to be all about signing guys who fit the scheme, and not just team scheme, but the scheme of the league, Vince, which makes all the sense in the world, right? I mean, who cares if a guy played somewhere close to Dallas? You care if the guy can play in a fast-paced, good, crisp football league.
Well, I agree with you, but it's still at the same time, we don't know what the rules are. We don't know what the exact pacing of the game is. Yeah, I mean, I know we've had some games tested in the lab, but we still don't know for sure. And I'm still chomping at the bit to find out what these rules are. But it's going to be interesting. I agree with you. They're going to want guys who have a sufficient gas tank that could go for a long time. But still at the same time, it's still football. They're going to need all kinds of play.
Guys with feet like Bryant, right, Jake?
That's definitely one way to look at it. Guys that aren't going to be blown up after the first series. It's all about. I mean, I don't want to say it's all about cardio. I mean, the AAF they had a faster game, but it's not going to be as fast. At least I don't think it's going to be as fast as the XFL. So. Yeah, it's going to be a fast-paced game. You need to stay up, but I really don't think it's going to be that. This isn't the biggest rule change that they're going to make that can put players out of eligibility.
And Vince, here's the kicker for you. A component of the summer showcases will be 7-on-7 drills.
Yeah, that's right. Oliver Luck, I believe it was, said it last week. He said that, it's going to be more than just, drills. We're going to have official measurements. We know that. But he alluded to some sort of, in-game situations, and I brought up 7-on-7, and my voice was heard. And that's the big thing about the XFL is they are listening.
They're listening.
If you have an idea, please tell them, and they may take it under consideration. And that's why this 7-on-7 is going to be implemented here. You're going to get a good look of what the skill position players can do, offense and defense, the kind of quickness they have, how they do in an in-game situation. I love this. This is what the NFL Combine should be more like, in my opinion. This is where, we see a lot of that stuff at like Senior Bowl events and things of that nature, high school combines. This is good stuff. I'm very excited to see this kind of thing, and I think that's how the XFL is really going to get a good look and find out if these guys can play or not. Because just running straight ahead for 40 yards with no pads is not enough to determine if a player's got it or not.
What about timed written tests, Vince? Do you think they should have those at the summer showcases?
Timed written tests, well,
like the Wonderlic.
They'll probably have something similar.
Sorry, Jake, I cut you off.
I was just going to say, this is not going to be the underwear Olympics here. I really like that line.
You do.
That Oliver Luck gave us.
That was Doug Whaley, I think, gave us.
Doug Whaley, okay.
Do you like that? Oliver Luck gave us your other favorite, verified measurements.
Yeah, it's...
Put up or shut up.
Yeah, if you're gonna go to this thing, you're gonna have to come back to your hometown, and there's not gonna be any second guessing. A lot of tall tales could be debunked.
We're gonna be
guys
talking
claiming that they have a 42-inch waist are really gonna get exposed.
Friendships, 20 plus years down the drain.
We're gonna be talking to some players coming up, and I'm gonna tell our friends that that are players that are gonna be on the show. Work on that gut. Make sure you're honest about that waistline. Make sure you're honest about that 40 time. You're honest about those biceps, that neck.
We should make them come prepared with with some of their measurements, and then we'll find out if they're telling the truth come the showcase.
I know what you want. You want me to get their measurements before we have them on the show so I could introduce them with their measurements.
Wrist 18, neck 32.
Oh, man. Well, we as we get silly and wind down the hot read, just some quick names that we've heard through the grapevine have gotten invites to the summer showcases. Not 100% verified on some of these, but I've seen some of them have taken the email snapshot they've received from Eric Galco, and on social media. They're hyped. These guys are hyped to get the invite when they should be. Players like Christian Morris, a tackle who played at Ole Miss, played at Tennessee State, and most recently with the Memphis Express, an AAF player. Brandon Napoleon, a cornerback who played at Kansas Wesleyan, on social media talking about how he got an invite. Fabian Guerra, a wide receiver with the Memphis Express. Tyler Stephen Rausa, USA, Boise State kicker, getting an invite. Herbert Moore, a defensive tackle who played at Ole Miss, SEC caliber player. Anthony Johnson, a defensive lineman who went to FIU, and a former Orlando Apollos player who also played at FIU, Jacoby Smith, an offensive lineman, got the invite. So you're seeing AAF players. Vince, get those emails from Mr. Galco and the league.
Yeah. Hopefully, we get more and more talent in there. Some hungry guys. I think that's maybe even more important.
And we're hoping to talk to some of these hungry players. We want to hear their stories, and we're going to be really digging into that next week. And we'll also, give you any updates on names that come out that we hear about getting invites. And if you want to get that invite, all we can do is advise you to throw that tape out on the internet. Everybody's got their highlight reels. And if you're a college player, you got the XFL.com and that application. So now's the time. If you're a player, this is the moment. This is the summer to do it. The XFL is giving a lot of people a second chance, like we talked about with Keenan earlier. It's an exciting time, I think.
Yeah. And if you can't get an invite, I would maybe even encourage you, just show up at the showcase and challenge somebody to a race.
Maybe in the parking lot. Oh my God, I don't want to advise trespassing, but if you really want to get there, maybe, I don't know, you could just run really fast around the stadium and beg them to get in.
Vince may be right. A lot of times nowadays in professional sports, the only thing that you need to succeed is just being in the right position at the right time. You got a coach out there. Why can't anybody block this man? And you step up, and maybe you're going to be on the squad.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe there's a no-show. They need to fill a spot. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work like that. That seems like something that would happen in the replacement.
That's dedication.
That's something that would happen in the replacements or something like Necessary Roughness in a football movie. I don't know about real life. The XFL's got a little bit more of a stable plan for these summer showcases, but it's a fun time. The players I know are getting excited because they're hitting us up and telling us, and I couldn't be more excited for them. This is going to be really cool this summer. The summer's all about the players now that we got all the coaches. And I can't wait to talk about these coaches some more, though. We have brands to discuss, schemes, Vince, and rankings to put together on these coaches. I don't know if Bryant's going to have us do it on the Patreon or as a part of a whole show, but we better be doing that soon.
Yeah, I think we got to really dig into what each of these guys wants to do and discuss how they may interpret these new rules and implement their systems with these new rules and just reimagine the game in order to get a leg up on the competition. I cannot wait to see what some of these guys come up with. I think that is going to be really exciting to see how these guys come up with these, just elaborate schemes that we've never seen before.
It's going to be an innovative football league, and you could already tell because of the names that are hired as head coaches, and wait till we see these players. Now that's the next step for us. And Jake, of course, it's jerseys. By the way, if you want to hear Jake rant about jerseys and team names and colors, that's up on the Patreon this week as well. But I know Jake's excited for the players as well. Are you?
Yeah, of course I'm excited for the players.
But not as much as the jerseys.
Not as much as the jerseys. I'll be honest.
That's all we ask for each and every week right here on This is the XFL Show. Thanks to Keenan, our special patron, and all of our patrons for giving to the show. Thanks to you for subscribing, even if you're not a patron. Subscribe on any podcast platform of your choosing. We're everywhere. This is the XFL Show. Just search it and hit that subscribe button and tell your friends who love football that, hey, there's this really cool show covering each and every detail of the XFL leading up to kickoff in 2020 and beyond. That's us. We're here for you if you need us. And if you're a player, we do want to hear your story. Reach out to us on Twitter. DMs are open at XFL Show. Got anything left, guys?
No, I think we covered it all for this week. Just can't. I'm anxiously looking forward to hearing from some of these players and the journey that they're about to embark on.
It's all about the journey, baby. We're on one together. Thanks for riding down this road to 2020 with us. For Jake, for Vince, I'm Alan. This is the XFL Show. Remember,
they're listening.